Basically, in short, our entire thesis of doing content in a way that produces leads and conversions is based around producing bottom of funnel content, which we define as content that ranks for terms that the act of Googling that term suggests the person is ready or whatever, in the mood, could be convinced for your product or service. Category keywords. It's like the basic thing that people would be Googling if they're looking exactly for the particular product you're selling. We found main category keywords, like the thing that a product or service is, was converting near 5%. And by the way, this is converting to what? Converting to a product conversion. And just to level set you, if you have not intentionally done bottom of funnel type SEO like this and gone after these keywords, chances are your content is converting at like 0.1%, if anything at all. Okay, today we're going to be talking about Point SEO in a really specific way. We thought it would be interesting, in addition to our normal episodes, to kind of do a few episodes like this where we go into the fundamentals of what we do, which is content that is bottom of funnel and creates conversions in these little kind of bite-sized ways. And we're going to start with the first type or category of bottom of funnel content called category keywords that we're going to argue and show examples of in this episode that we think everyone should basically be going after. Before we get into it, as a reminder, if you like this, whether you're watching on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, take a minute to subscribe. If you rate us on one of the podcast ones or like us on YouTube or leave a comment, that would be even more good. And if you want also updates when we do our data analysis and long form written posts and case studies, you can join our email newsletter at growandconvert.com/newsletter or click on newsletter on the top right. Okay. Category keywords. Let me start by just doing a general overview on Point SEO for everyone. We have a much longer video, or maybe multiple, on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out there. And then, of course, all of this is at growandconvert.com/SEO/Point.SEO. You can just Google Point SEO and get to it. Basically, in short, our entire thesis of doing content in a way that produces leads and conversions is based around producing bottom of funnel content, which we define as content that ranks for terms that the act of Googling that term suggests the person is ready or whatever, in the mood, could be convinced for your product or service. And we have three subcategories there that I'm showing to people that are watching on YouTube, our sort of reverse marketing funnel schematic on our Point SEO blog post. Number one, category keywords, which is what we're going to talk about today. Number two, comparison alternatives. And number three, jobs to be done keywords. Category keywords. Benji, do you want to start by defining for everyone at least what you think, or a good definition of what category keywords are?
Yeah, they're just keywords that define what your product does. So that could be a feature, it could be the larger category. So for us, it would be, we're a content marketing agency. But then there's nuances in terms of how you describe it. And so if your target customer of your content marketing agency were primarily SaaS businesses, then you could get into more specifics and say the actual category is we're a SaaS content marketing agency, or we're a bottom of the funnel content marketing agency. And all these descriptors are going to help clarify the category and typically lead to better customers coming from the content that you produce.
Yeah. It's like the basic thing that people would be Googling if they're looking exactly for the particular product you're selling or service. So the next thing I want to talk about before we go into some examples is, and this is going to start to get into it, there aren't just one type of category keyword. There's like your main thing, but we have discovered from doing this work that there's actually all these different ways you can call a specific product. In particular, for folks that have SaaS businesses or work inside SaaS businesses or have SaaS clients, It is very common these days for a particular SaaS company to brand themselves as a platform. Like it feels like every VC pushes their portfolio SaaS companies to be a platform, aka shove as many features into this thing as possible. Say you're going after enterprise clients, whatever. What that means is like category keywords, you should think about it not just as like your space. Like it's not like, we sell some, we're going to look at Gong in the sales space. It's not just like we sell like this, like sales software. Yes, that's like technically speaking category, but like every feature you have, if it transcribes sales calls, transcription software is a category keyword with some specificity, or what have you, right? There's like a bunch of other things. Like, so
Yeah,
what I
like
want,
I'll describe it again in the context of our own business. So I think main category keywords. What we define as main. So again, going back to the content marketing agency would be one. SaaS content marketing agency would be one. Potentially e-commerce content marketing agency would be one. Then the side category keywords. So it's not a vertical that we service too often, but you could think healthcare content marketing could be a side category keyword. It's not.
well, I would call that layer of specificity. Side to me would be like if we said, hey, we're a content agency, but some people Googling for an SEO agency may actually be open to us.
Yeah,
And
there's
so,
different ways that we could describe that. Because I was going to say layer of specificity would be like conversion focused content marketing agency. Something that really indicates someone is looking for a service exactly like what you do. Or a bottom of the funnel content marketing agency, as you start to grow that terminology, people that are searching for that, you want to show them exactly what you do and create a page that would go after that. So yeah, the strict definitions can vary a little bit, but that's kind of the way that we're thinking about this when we're thinking of these. So you have these main keywords, and then you have things that are a little bit outside of the core business. And that's why I said for us, healthcare, it's like we don't do healthcare content marketing per se, but it's valuable for us to own that keyword because we do have some healthcare clients that we had really successful results for. And so getting more businesses like that would be very valuable to us.
yeah. What I'm showing here for folks that are only listening is I'm showing a graph in a study that Meg on our team and I did a while back, where we looked at the average conversion rates of tons, like 90 some blog posts going after a bunch of keywords that had like a ton of visitors across a bunch of clients. And we're looking at these average conversion rates. We found main category keywords, like the thing that a product or service is, was converting near 5%. And by the way, this is converting to what? Converting to a product conversion. For different clients, it's very different things. So yes, there's a little bit of like, what does it really mean when you average? And some clients, a conversion meant requesting a demo, and some clients it was a free trial, and other clients it was reach out to a sales team, and some were SaaS, some were self-serve, some were just non-SaaS, whatever. Yes, there's some like weirdness there, but this gives us a sense comparatively of conversion potential of different types of keywords. And just to level set you, if you have not intentionally done bottom of funnel type SEO like this and gone after these keywords, chances are your content is converting at like 0.1%, if anything at all. You can actually scroll to the top of our Pain Point SEO post and look at this analytics screenshot that shows things that are the non-boxed posts were converting barely at all, and the conversion rates are on the second to right hand column. So just like 5% is very good across dozens of posts. Side category keywords were converting much less, a little bit less than 2.5%. Category plus layer of specificity was somewhere in between at like 2.6, 2.7%. For folks that are watching on YouTube, you can immediately see the comparison and alternative and versus keywords, which will be another video, which we'll get into, convert higher, 7% plus. We'll talk about why in that video, but just don't feel that because your eye sees some higher bar graphs right now that somehow category keywords are not high conversion rate. Again, if you are not doing this in a systematic way, chances are your conversion rates are like less than 0.25%. Why? Because we've seen that in countless clients. We see that itself. So This is sort of the idea of the category keyword. We're going to go into and use Gong as an example. Gong.io is this kind of famous sales software that was all around like sales calls, recording sales calls, transcribing, helping people like coach salespeople on it. Since then, it has become their homepage right now just has been AI-ified, where like every SaaS company needs to somehow talk about how they're like AI first or something I disagree with and think is kind of silly, but that's their decision. They are not a client. I just did a LinkedIn post a while back talking and doing an analysis of their keyword strategy because there's some really interesting things. And we're going to use a part of that here to talk about category keywords. Specifically, they are doing a great job systematically going after category keywords with feature or landing pages on their marketing site. So I'm now showing an Ahrefs screenshot looking at the top keywords they're ranking for, sorted by, I think, like Ahrefs determining traffic. So it's a function of search volume and then how high they're ranking for each of these keywords. And if you notice something specific to foreshadow a future video we're going to do, I'm only looking at pages on their site that don't have blog in it because, as I argue in my LinkedIn post that you can look up later or we'll link to, their blog actually is just going after top of the funnel stuff. So if we look at some of these, here are examples of just like really great category keyword SEO from Gong. Call recording software. Actually, let's get to that in a second. I think one of the most like sort of hard to argue against category keywords Gong is ranking for is conversation intelligence software. We've had some clients kind of near this space or arguably in it. And so in general, that term conversation intelligence, very general sense, is referring to a bunch of software that like analyzes, transcribes, using AI, finds like trends and all this in recordings. And that's obviously very useful for salespeople. And that's like kind of at the core of what Gong does. Go ahead. You were saying something.
Yeah, no, I was going to say this is probably a good place to talk about just, I think Gong itself would argue that they want to be positioned more around conversation intelligence because it kind of up levels what they do. Again, it's more than just call recording. It's analyzing these conversations, giving salespeople data to make decisions off of. It's more comprehensive and it's like a platform play versus some of these other keywords might seem more simplistic. So sales call software, call recording software. Oftentimes when we pitch those keywords to some clients will push back on us and say, you know what, we don't want to go after call recording software because our software is way more comprehensive than just call recording. Call recording is just one feature in there. But we want to be known as like a conversation intelligence software or a revenue intelligence software, these higher level categories. And so we just don't even think it's worth it to go after these. The reason it makes sense to go after these is because some people don't know about this higher level category when they're searching for this. They have a need around call recording. They have a need around sales coaching or some of the specific features inside of there. And when you actually go in and write the post, you can set up the positioning in the way that you want. That says, if you're searching for call recording software, this is one feature in a more comprehensive platform, and you can explain how call recording goes in tandem with all the other feature sets that make the product so much better than just a simple call recording piece of software. So oftentimes companies will shy away from these simplistic features and going after some of these software keywords just because they think that people will perceive them as a simpler solution. But these convert really highly. And so all this to say, you should go after these even if your positioning is different from these keywords.
So just to clarify, you're saying take two of these examples on the screen now.
They're go back to their homepage. Like I think this will drive the point home. So if you look at how they...
So just to read this out loud for people that are just listening, their homepage headline says the AI platform that transforms your revenue growth. That actually is just so general. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I
that
hope no one from
headline's
Gong
pretty
is
bad,
listening
but
to that.
the subhead's a little bit more descriptive if we go up.
Yeah.
So like you can just see.
Well, let me read it out for people. Engage customers, forecast accurately, and improve team productivity all in one revenue intelligence platform.
Okay, so you can just tell by their headline that they want to be known as like revenue growth and revenue intelligence. That's kind of how they're trying to position themselves. So again, a different category than I think what they used to be positioned as was just more sales software.
But if we go back to what you were saying, so like I'm seeing them, Ahrefs is showing them ranking number 4 for the term revenue intelligence. Just an aside is that it doesn't have the word software in it, so maybe it wouldn't be like a pure grow and convert category keyword. But just the point you're making is that is easy for leadership, or in the case of your story, clients to get behind if the SEO team, employee, agency like us says, hey, let's go after this. We're going to rank you for the term revenue intelligence, or hypothetically, in this case, revenue intelligence software. But you're saying that's all fine and good. But a mistake people make is then stopping there and not going after, for example,
Sales call
sales
software,
call recording software,
or even
which
just
from
sales
like
call
a
software.
or sales call software, which like from like a sex appeal standpoint just seems so boring, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. And then leadership is like, we don't want to position ourselves as sales call software. That's not what we are. We're a revenue intelligence AI
Platform.
transformation
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah, so I think the mistake people make is they look at that keyword and they would say that positions us as way too simplistic of a product when the keyword is not positioning you. That's the mistake that people make. You want to show up when people are searching for a solution to their problem. So they have a problem, they need help with cold calling. You don't necessarily know exactly what the problem is when they're searching for that keyword, but you can kind of back into it. And then in the
Wait.
actual
Before you move on, say that again. Well, you said the keyword does not position you.
Yes. So cold calling software, if someone is searching for cold calling software, that doesn't mean that your product is just cold calling software. It means they're searching for a solution to help them with cold calling. And then the way that you can the way that you can help position yourself is then in the actual writing of the piece going after cold calling software, you can make the argument that the cold calling piece is just whatever the feature set is around cold calling. This is just one part of the overall platform that helps people with cold calling. And so that positioning and how you communicate the value of your product and the category you're in can happen in the piece itself, but the keyword doesn't mean that you're positioned like that. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make. So again, going back to the example of our agency, we're trying to own the keyword healthcare content marketing. That doesn't mean that we're a healthcare content marketing agency or that's the only vertical that we service, but it's one vertical that we can help in our overall content marketing
Right.
agency. So like
So the
people would make the
objection you're
mistake.
seeing would
Yeah,
be like me being like, "No, Benji, we can't go after it because we don't want to project to the world that all we are is a
Is a
healthcare content
healthcare
marketing
exactly,
agency."
but that positioning gets taken care of in the piece. So in the article, you would say we've had a number of clients in the healthcare space. Here's how the strategy differs from what we normally do for our SaaS clients, and then make the case why you're good for that vertical. And so the positioning doesn't come off as we only service healthcare clients. It's just one of the things that we do. And I think that's the same thing for any of these keywords here, that maybe your core offering isn't around sales coaching. Maybe your core offering isn't around sales call recording. It's like this larger piece, like your platform is a like way larger piece of software, and these are just small features in there. But that positioning gets taken care of in the writing of the piece. And again, the mistake that people make is just not going after these because they don't want to be perceived as just one feature.
Yeah, yeah. But the feature is what people are looking for.
Yes.
So that's fine. as
Yeah.
Benji's saying, when we write the piece, you can talk about your branding and how you're this bigger thing or whatever. But if people are literally looking for this and it's something your software does, aka a feature, then you're just leaving customers at the table that by not showing up in that discussion when they're looking for it. I think we have seen this more often in SaaS clients. I think you would agree. And I think it would behoove them, if you're having those reservations or you end up having those reservations and you remember this conversation, I think it would behoove you to think more like e-commerce brands and SEO. They don't mind if one product of a 1,000 product store is ranking for whatever, right? If they sell a bunch of different apparel, like it's a department store, Macy's.com, HomeDepot.com, of course wants to rank for like, best drill bits or whatever, and they don't shy away from it. I think you should start thinking about SaaS people seem to feel like they need to like everything needs to position their brand in this very specific way. It's like there's just like a lot of discussion in SaaS about like your brand differentiator, and they're just like kind of thinking a little bit too much in that respect from this.
Yeah. The last thing I want to cover here, well, this is unrelated to the Gong example, actually. Now you said e-commerce, and I think e-commerce is actually a very good example of this, is just getting more specific in terms of your category keywords. And so, again, a mistake a lot of people make is, let's say you had a running shoe company that was targeted towards men that have wide feet. So again, very specific. You created this because you realized most of the running shoes out there are for people that have normal feet or skinny feet, and your feet hurt because you have extremely wide feet. So you're trying to go after this. The mistake that a lot of people make then is just they would target keywords like men's running shoes or men's running shoes size or something like that. But again, bringing those clarifiers in, men's running shoes for wide feet is a way better keyword for you to target than just men's running shoes, because there's going to be, if you were to go after men's running shoes, there's only going to be a small subset of those people searching for that are going to have wide feet that your product is going to be a good solution for. But if you just owned men's running shoes for people with wide feet, like that longer variation, you know that all the people clicking in there are going to be a potential good fit for the product that you're selling. And so I just challenge people to really think through all the category keyword variations where they can get very specific. So if you have men as your customers, like 80 or 90% as men, or same thing with women, make sure to put women's running shoe or men's running shoe, and then as many clarifiers for wide feet, for I don't know, warts, or like whatever issue that you have that the product solves for, that should be included in the keyword in the keyword strategy. And I would say that's a huge mistake that people make, is just going after the obvious ones, but then not really thinking through what are the specific keyword attributes that would lead the right person to our product.
Yeah, I think that example is a perfect example of why we call this, one of the reasons we call this pain point SEO. What you were adding to men's running shoes was the pain point that product was solving for wide feet. And you can think of this in a variety of different ways. And I was scrolling to this deep dive into specific category keywords conversion rates that Meg did in this post, where she looked at how if you get the specificity exactly right, you can get just ridiculously high conversion rates.
Yeah.
So she has like business size, cost, and industry, and I think
So you could think of you could think business size would be small business accounting software, enterprise accounting software. That's the clarity around the business side. That's specificity.
Yeah, and for people that aren't seeing it, what we're looking at is a bar graph for, like a particular one was converting, or a couple of them are converting at 6.5%, much higher than some of the other ones. So like sometimes business size doesn't convert well, but if you hit it exactly right, it can. Because again, like if you sell, in that example you just used, accounting software that happens to have features that are perfect for small business, it may convert really well, because if you write the post well, You should be like really like hitting all the pain points of small business owners being like, yeah, like QuickBooks and all this are too complicated. Great. Like you have one that's better for me or whatever. And then cost specific is like free, I think was probably like one of these. And then industry specific, I forget which one was converting at 15%, but that would be like accounting software for dentists or for entrepreneurs or whatever. And so,
Yeah. So to even get this, you just have to think about who are the best customers in my customer base, and then what clarifiers could I add to the keyword to try to attract those people?
I think that's the key. The other one I would just wanted to briefly mention is just pay attention to synonyms. We talked about adding pain points. We talked about adding specificity. You have to kind of look there. Like we see some examples from Gong ranking for both revenue management software, revenue intelligence platform, the term revenue intelligence in general, revenue intelligence software versus revenue intelligence platform. Ahrefs is looking at them as different keywords. Pay attention to them, look at them, see if the same posts are ranking for both of them. But in general, the last kind of takeaway I'll leave you with before we close is, and I'll go back to this Gong example, is intentionality, being systematic, intentional, and thorough. This is not an accident. Like, we have no relationship with Gong. I just use this as an example because, you know, if you use a client example, like, I don't know, like I don't want to share all of our clients' strategies because they hired us, and we have, side note, we have actual evidence of when we've published some case studies and like shown every little detail of like clients' competitors that happen to read, grow, and convert that like try to copy it. So I just picked a famous company, Gong, and like looked at their content. So we have no affiliation with them. So I don't know what's behind it, but I know SEO. I know bottom of funnel SEO. We've been doing this for a long time with a bajillion clients. This is not an accident. You don't just stumble upon this by creating a marketing site, adding your natural feature and solution pages, and then like sprinkling some keywords in there. No way. If you click into one of them, like we clicked into one of them, call recording cold call software, it's like a specific landing page called call software, voted #1 cold calling software by sales pros. Like this is an intentional strategy. You should approach it that way. You're not going to accidentally rank this, and then don't just have it just be your homepage. Think through everything we've said in this video. What are my specific modifiers? What are my pain point modifiers? What are these side category keywords? Like if we call ourselves a content agency, what if we rank for SEO agency? What if we're not actually doing this, but like in theory, what if we just went after
content writing agency or
digital marketing agency even?
Yeah, or
like if we rank for that, like we could convert some of those leads. Because everyone else they're talking to is not good. So like think through that systematically and then decide what pages to go after. And the last thing is these examples from Gong are feature and solution pages. As per the LinkedIn post and as per what we've done, you can go after them with blog posts. You don't need fancy landing pages with this design and the designer and like blah, 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 and like coding. You don't need that. You can go after and rank for category keywords, even if when you Google it, the first 10 results, page 1 is dominated by other people's landing page or feature pages. Again, we're not going to go through and show client examples here because we have to go through all kinds of ropes to like get approval for that. But we have, trust us, countless examples. And I think that's probably somewhere on our blog of blog posts ranking and converting extremely well for these types of category keywords. Go ahead. I was talking over you.
Yeah, well, just on the last point, you can search for landing pages versus blog posts, and we have a post that has a bunch of data about how we're able to see as high, if not higher, conversion rates from blog posts over landing pages, which covers an objection that most people have. Why not just create a landing page to go after this? And then the last thing I'll say, just doubling back on the synonyms thing, just think of all the variations of things that someone could potentially describe your business as and go after all of them. That is what I would say. So, yeah, like ask your customers, if you were searching for this in Google, how would you search for this? Like, what would you think of our business as? And you'll find that your company and people inside your business often think of your service offering, your product offering as something different than your customers, or might call it something different. And so you want to think of all those variations and go after all of them.
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. You can also get the audio-only versions of these shows wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow us at growandconvert.com/newsletter for any articles and updates for when these videos come out.